is Susan Bass, and you're listening to The Devil You Know. Did you know that a lion's roar can be heard 5 miles away by another lion?
Shem ham for hey, everyone. How you doing?
Shove it up my ding dong.
Doing well.
What's up, guys?
Shove it up my ding dong. What?
How's your week been?
Pretty good, man. Rainy here in Arizona. Actually, it's been weird because it's about monsoon time, but
you live in the desert?
Yeah, but we get like hot boobs and
you get what? Hot boobs?
We get hot boobs and.
What's a hot boob?
It's a wall of dust that just comes in and crashes across the.
Is that like the sweat that they get under the boobs?
Yes, yeah. It's a little musky, but in the heat of it all, it's quite pleasing. Okay. Anyway,
oh, interesting.
But yeah, no, it's just rainy, and it's actually weird because it's starting early, man. It's like. It's supposed to be in August. Usually it's like August, but we're mid-end July now. It's already starting up.
Well, we're only a couple weeks from August, so.
Yeah.
Can you believe that shit?
Yeah, and it's fucking hot here, man. What's it like over you guys?
Well, hot and rainy.
Yeah, hot. It's hot and dry here.
You guys have hot boobs?
Yeah.
Fucking hey, I do. It's California.
I got hot boobs.
Hideous. What'd you do this week? You still licking your wounds from Tennessee?
What wounds?
I don't know.
I had a good time. Yeah, I had a good week. I went fishing yesterday, man.
I saw that.
Watched some dolphins swim past me. Watched a shark fin swim past me. It was cool. Didn't catch a damn thing.
It's because the sharks and dolphins were there.
It didn't matter. I caught a couple hours to myself, but with the sunrise and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Oh, you went fishing alone? Oh
yeah, of course.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Tom Malone.
Yeah.
You gotta love Tom Malone, man.
I do.
What about you? What did you do this week, John?
I edited the Walpurgis video. So. Walpurgis. Yeah, I edited.
Did you finish editing the roast yet?
No, I did not. No.
Oh, dick.
I know.
Those jokes are gonna be outdated.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
They're like, you made a Trump joke. Who's Trump? Oh, that was the guy that was president a few years ago.
I'll do it. It's just, dude, it's hard to find time. People don't realize all the shit I have to do daily. It sucks.
Yeah, I know you do a lot, dude. I do know that,
and it's thankless. I know. All right, cool. Adam, how about you, man? Anything?
Hung out, painted some skulls, listened to some music, hung out with some friends.
I got a skull in the mail, by the way. Thanks, Adam.
Nice.
You're welcome.
I got it handed to me in person, and it's in the ritual video.
You got head in person?
That's right. Adam gave me head in person.
I did.
I got it through the mail. It's weird.
We're such dorks. I'm going to start the show.
All right.
Religious holidays. The highest of all holidays in the Satanic religion is the date of one's own birth. This is in direct contradiction to the holy of holy days of other religions, which deify a particular god who has been created in an anthropomorphic form of their own image, thereby showing that the ego is not really buried. The Satanist feels, why not really be honest? And if you're going to create a god in your image, why not create that god as yourself? Every man is a god if he chooses to recognize himself as one. So the Satanist celebrates his own birthday as the most important holiday of the year. After all, aren't you happier about the fact that you were born than you are about the birth of someone you have never even met. Or, for that matter, aside from religious holidays, why pay higher tribute to the birthday of a president or a date to history than we do to the day we were brought into this greatest of worlds? Despite the fact that some of us may not have been wanted, or at least were not particularly planned, we're glad, even if no one else is, that we're here. You should give yourself a pat on the back, buy yourself whatever you want, treat yourself like the king or god that you are, and generally celebrate your birthday with as much pomp and ceremony as possible. After one's own birthday, the two major satanic holidays are Walpurgisnacht and Halloween, or All Hallows Eve. Saint Walpurgis, or Walpurga, or Walburga, depending upon the time and area in which one is referring to her, was born in Sussex about the end of the 7th or beginning of the 8th century, and was educated at Winburn, Dorset, where after taking the veil she remained for 27 years. She then, at the insistence of her uncle, Saint Boniface, and her brother, Saint Willibald, set out along with other nuns to found religious houses in Germany. Her first settlement was at Bischofsheim in the Diocese of Mainz, and 2 years later, 754 AD, she became abbess of the Benedictine nunnery at Heidenheim, within her brother Willibald's Diocese of Eichstätt in Bavaria, where another brother, Winibald, had at the same time also been made head of a monastery. On the death of Winibald in 760, she succeeded him in his charge, retaining the superintendence of both houses until her death on February 25th, 779. Her relics were translated to Eichstätt, where she had laid in a hollow rock from which excluded a kind of bituminous oil, afterwards known as Walpurgis oil, regarded as having miraculous efficacy against disease. The cave became a place of pilgrimage, and a great church was built over the spot. She is commemorated at various times, but principally on May 1st, her day taking the place of an earlier pagan festival. Amazingly enough, all of this rigmarole was found necessary simply to condone the continuance of the most important pagan festival of the year, the grand climax of the spring equinox. The Eve of May has been memorialized as the night that all of the demons, specters, afrits, and banshees would come forth and hold their wild revels, symbolizing the fruition of the spring equinox. Halloween, All Hallows Eve, or All Saints' Day falls on October 31st or November 1st. Originally, All Hallows Eve was one of the great fire festivals of Britain at the time of the Druids. In Scotland, it was associated with the time when the spirits of the dead, the demons, witches, and sorcerers were unusually active and propitious. Paradoxically, All Hallows Eve was also the night when young people performed magical rituals to determine their future marriage partners. The youth of the villages carried on with much merrymaking and sensual revelry, But the older people took great care to safeguard their homes from the evil spirits, witches, and demons who had exceptional power that night. The solstices and equinoxes are also celebrated as holidays as they herald the first day of the seasons. The difference between a solstice and an equinox is a semantic one, defining the relationship between the sun, moon, and the fixed stars. The solstice applies to summer and winter. The equinox refers to autumn and spring. The summer solstice is in June, and the winter solstice is in December. The autumn equinox is in September, and the spring equinox is in March. Both the equinoxes and the solstices vary a day or two from year to year, depending on the lunar cycle at the time, but usually fall on the 21st or 22nd of the month. 5 to 6 weeks after these days, the legendary Satanic revels are celebrated.
All right, episode 85. John, I love big cats and I ain't lying.
Every week I wait for you to start with whatever you're going to say. Sometimes it's quippy, sometimes it falls off a cliff. And
That's like a dad joke.
yeah, that's a good one, though. I like that. Adam, who do we got this week?
This week we have Susan Bass from bigcatrescue.org to talk to us about animals and the magic between humans and animals, and a little bit about Old Church of Satan with Togar, and we're going to touch on a couple of things like that. It'll be a good show. So I'd like to welcome to the show Susan Bass.
Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yay! All right, it's not.
Ooh, applause. I like that.
That's all for you.
We got all kinds of sound effects. Some of them you don't want to hear.
Yeah, no.
So tell us a little bit to start off about yourself and how you got into Big Cat Rescue.
Sure. First of all, Big Cat Rescue is an accredited sanctuary for exotic cats, just like it sounds, big cats. We're located in Tampa, Florida, and we have about 75 cats right now. Everything from lions and tigers to the little ones like bobcats and ocelots.
Oh, my.
Nice. Wow, very cool. So now, do most of them come from, like, where do you come upon these guys? Is it like people who've owned them, or is it from?
Are they in the alley? Like in the alley somewhere?
Yeah, not in the alley usually. We do get them from a number of places they need to be rescued. Sometimes it is from private owners who figure out that owning an exotic cat is not the same as owning a domestic cat, and they really do not make good pets and they want to get rid of them. Yep. Or we have former circus performers. We have cats that have been saved from being slaughtered for fur coats.
Oh.
Lately, it seems we've done a number of rescues from places that have either been shut down by authorities or they've lost their USDA exhibitor license and they've had to close. Most recently, we got 3 cats from the state of Ohio, which has very strict laws now on private ownership of big cats, which we very much approve of. And they had 2 African servals, 2 caracals and an African serval that needed to be rescued. So we get them in from all different kinds of situations.
Awesome.
I know I used to have to deal with a guy. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy, but there's a well-known old school tattoo artist in the Chicago area named Roy Boy, and he had a collection of big cats, and every now and then he'd show up in the news for something. This guy was kind of crazy, kind of a local legend too, but he had a lion that got loose and killed a farmer's horse, and I think they ended up putting the cat down.
Hungry.
And it didn't stop him from owning. And I've driven in traffic behind this guy came up behind him one time, and from a distance, I was like, "Man, that is a huge dog in the back of this guy's truck," and it turned out to be a white tiger.
Wow.
But now he was known for, I don't think he probably was the best at taking care of animals, but I guess that was his thing, as being exotic, or I don't know.
Right. And that's
Probably
the problem. A lot of these people, they don't know how to take care of the cats. They don't know what to feed them. They don't know, proper vet care for them and enrichment. And most of them do fall into the wrong hands. People that aren't qualified, or they end up in roadside zoos or kept in little tiny cages. So a big part of Big Cat Rescue's mission is to actually, stop most of the private ownership and breeding of these cats in the U.S.
Well, Susan, let's give you a little back history on, the church a little bit, as far as in regard to Anton LaVey and his lion Togar. We've got a soundbite here, and it's about 8.5 minutes long. Most people that have watched this film will recognize everything that's being said here, but this is the audio from it, and we'll talk about it after we hear this.
The only discord that came was when he had the lion. About a year ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, he acquired a baby lion, and initially everyone thought, gee, how cute, or how different, because he was only about the size of a large cat initially. But then he got to be 3 years old, and about 500 pounds of lion, and that's quite different than having a little kitty cat for a neighbor. And the lion, being a nocturnal animal, would sleep during the daytime, and then at night he would roar. And I mean, you'd get up in the middle of the night and you would think that you were near Mount Kilimanjaro or something.
I don't know. They say he makes too much noise. I never really hear him. Well, I heard him. He does make a little noise. I heard him one time when I was walking past, but I don't really think he's that noisy or something like that.
I'm hard of hearing, and the lion didn't bother me at all. But it bothered the neighbors to such an extent that they were positive it must bother me, and they were ringing me up to do something about it.
Here in San Francisco, there's a statute preventing ownership of horses, rabbits, I believe, and other domesticated animals that you usually find on the farm. However, naturally, our city fathers had not anticipated that anyone would keep a lion, so there was nothing on the books against keeping a lion, and Mr. LaVey was entirely within his rights.
But when he interfered with the entire neighborhood, it became our business. And that's when we had him arrested, and he got fined $50 and 3 months in jail, suspended, and a year's probation.
He lived with us for about 3 years, and he was always very rough, and of course we had to take a great deal of precautions with the children, because just playing he could kill one of them. So naturally we didn't let him in the room with the children, although he did sleep in our bedroom at night. But he was so sweet and so well trained that he used to wrap his mouth around Anton's leg and just sort of hold it for security. And if he started to bear down a little too hard, Anton would just say, "No bite, Togar," and Togar would release it.
I was in love with Togar. I never got tired of watching him. He had the most beautiful head, the most beautiful eyes. And one night I wanted to pet him, and I did pet him, but he wanted to play with me. So he grabbed my wrist. And my dogs do that quite often, and I didn't think about it until his fangs were going down into my wrist. And then I just stood there like I was petrified, and Diane said, "He's biting you, isn't he?" And I said, "Yes, he is." But I didn't know what to do. If I had known it, I would just have said, "No, no." You know, I knew that if I tried to take my hand back again, I probably wouldn't have had a hand left. So I can brag about being one of the few people who's been bitten by an lion, which I'm very proud of.
Oh, well, I can remember when he had the satanic wedding, the kids were sneaking up in the house and pulling open the curtains to see if there really was a nude girl on the altar. And when the police came to break the crowd up, the little kids ran up to him and said, hey, mister, there's a nude lady on the altar. And, of course, you know, the policeman said, oh, yeah, sure, right. Walked into the house. Not only did they see the lion, but they saw the nude lady. And you've never seen so many men with such a shocked expression on their face in your life.
I heard something else, but I don't know too much. No, really. But no, please. No, really.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. What else did you hear?
Well, I'll tell you if you turn out the camera first, and I'll tell you. Well, you remember when I told you that I met Mr. Weber? Well, Mr. Weber, and I don't know too much about these things, but Mr. Weber told me that, and I'm pretty sure it was Mr. Weber, that told me that when they had the lion, and I believe he's a male lion, that he took part in some of their sexual activities, and I didn't quite figure out how it worked or anything, but this is something that I did hear.
I don't know. Well, when the lion got loose over there, he did tear the house up, you know, and they said it was due to sex, that he was wanted to mate, and he went to the bedroom where his wife was, which his wife do have a scar on her left shoulder where the lion attacked her. I saw that in court myself, because she was sitting next to me. When she pulled her blouse down, you could see where the lion had struck her on the shoulder. So now he would train him up to that, you know. He's the baby. He had him from a club, so he could have actually trained him on that.
He was babysitting this jaguar for a friend, and he had the jaguar downstairs. And the lion evidently smelled the jaguar down below, became jealous and enraged, and went on a rampage, started tearing up all the pipes on the porch. And they couldn't call a plumber very well, because not very many plumbers are going to go in. So anyway, and then Mr. LeVay brought the lion inside, and he did quite a bit of damage, according to the papers, to Mr. LeVay's own personal effects. You know, drapes and a leather coat I read in the paper, and a few other things. And still Mr. LeVay didn't donate the lion to the zoo, but then on the following day, he did some more damage. He did damage 2 days in a row, and then at this time, he did decide to donate the animal to the zoo. And at that time, he bit, I think, the man from the SPCA, and one of the policemen, too, was nipped, I think, too.
It was really very sad that we had to take him to the zoo. We didn't want to, naturally, and never would have unless we had really been forced to do it. We put a generalized curse on all those who helped to get rid of Togar, and they've either, a curse will do one of two things. It will either destroy or rehabilitate, and that's exactly what's happened.
Well, there you have it. That was everything encompassing from that film that revolved around Togar. So you can hear, you know, some people's opinions and some people's just outlandish beliefs or misconceptions.
Yeah, a lot of that, we should make clear that a lot of that was just like neighbors and stuff that, of course, we're hearing rumors and you know, that was a lot of their opinions in the interviews. So
yeah,
I like the guy that said it didn't bother him because he had bad hearing.
That's the best.
Right.
Yeah.
The old man.
He's good. So you can see where we're coming from with you know, as far as that, because that's all we've got to go on as far as, you know, knowing personal stories about Togar. Other than that's not given to us by word of mouth by people that have been around. So
Right. Well, it's very common for people to acquire a lion or a tiger when they are just an adorable little cub, and there is nothing on this earth, if you ask me, cuter than a lion cub with those big brown eyes staring up at you. And the people that raise them and breed them, they generally take them away from their mothers when they're just a couple days old so that they can bond with them themselves, feed them bottles themselves. A lot of times they declaw them and defang them even.
Oh man.
And generally without anesthesia, and it's really pretty painful for the cats. But as soon as they get, even 12, 16, 20 weeks old, they're big and dangerous. And people start thinking, whoa, wait a minute, what do I do now? Sometimes they will keep living with them in their house. But what's interesting too about exotic cats, and that would be all different exotic cats, whether it's a boy or a girl, spayed or neutered or not, they continue to mark their territory every single day. So if you have a cat in your house, it's going to be urinating every single day in your house. You can't litter train them or teach them to go outside or something like a dog.
Right.
So your house is going to start smelling.
They won't go in the toilet?
No, I don't think so. Maybe
not like a house cat.
Like it, but that would just be another spot. But and then a lot of times the owners of Togar here, they're in love with the cat and they feel the bond to him. And a lot of times we'll project the feelings of, oh, that cat loves me back. But once they're a couple years old and they're sexually and physically mature, they really want nothing to do with people. In fact, they want nothing to do with other cats. They're all primarily solitary creatures that prefer to live on their own. And you generally do find that owners will get to the point where they need to, for the cat's sake mainly, is donate it to, a sanctuary, or in this case, it seems they donated him to a zoo. And
there probably wasn't sanctuaries back then, around San Francisco anyway.
Right. I'm not sure actually. Probably not.
So Togar was donated to the zoo, and then he ended up in a sanctuary in California. And now, talking to you on the phone, you named the sanctuary, and they wrote a book about it as well. Do you recall the name of that sanctuary in California?
Right. Shambhala, you said?
Yeah, the big cat Shambhala.
The actress.
Yeah.
Or run by her. Really, sanctuaries are usually they're nonprofit entities, so they aren't owned by anyone.
Sure.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is that Tippy herself had a lion, if not a couple other animals, exotic animals that lived with her at different points in her life. But she's now done a complete 180 and is, leading the band to try to get legislation passed that they aren't no longer pets and owned by private owners, which is we're part of a group that agrees with her and working on laws to change what we call the Big Cat Public Safety Act. If people wanted to learn more about the law and what that entails, you can actually text CATS, C-A-T-S, to 52886 and learn more.
Wow.
52886. Cool. Okay.
So now, how many of the cats that you have there will end up returning to the wild, or will they?
99.9% will never return to the wild, and there are several reasons. If a cat has been born in captivity and then, like I was telling you a few minutes ago, generally taken away from their mother at a couple days old, not only is the mother in captivity, so she doesn't know how to live to be a wild lion or tiger, but the cubs do not grow up learning how to survive in the wild. Another huge reason is, if you think about it, here in the United States, the only wild cats that we have running wild are cougars, bobcats. There's 1 or 2 jaguars in the entire United States that are wild, and maybe 1 or 2 ocelots, and that's it. So there is no wild. Lions are from Africa, tigers are from Asia, and even in their own native countries, with population growth and people losing, taking over their territory, they have less and less room to grow even in those countries.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, just as you said of them almost having to be remaining in captivity. We hear a lot of people these days who maybe they don't investigate, they don't understand how things work. They get upset about any kind of animal in captivity of some sort, i.e. the whole Blackfish movie. Do you ever have to deal with people giving you a hard time, not understanding that this is the best option for the cats that you have?
Absolutely. Everybody's on a different scale of where they are on this, issue of captive cats and what's facing them. And I myself, before I got involved with Big Cat Rescue, I had literally no idea, that this was even an issue, that there are between 10 and 20,000 big cats that are owned as pets and living in deplorable conditions in people's backyards just here in the United States.
That's
as
crazy.
well as roadside zoos.
Wow.
Yeah, and I say estimate because there's no government agency that tracks it. There's no microchips. It's easier actually to go online or find a breeder and buy yourself a lion or a tiger than it is to go to your local humane society and adopt a domestic cat or dog, because they actually have paperwork that you have to fill out. You have to prove you would be a fit owner.
Yeah, right. That's true. Actually, we had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fit owner myself. Well, I want to take it to a different direction here. I watch videos on YouTube sometimes, and I've seen a couple where you got this guy, he hasn't seen these lions in so long, he'll come back and all of a sudden they're running up to him and hugging him and licking him and all this stuff like that. I mean, is that how they are after they get to know you and things like that? Is that what you experience?
That is not how they are. Oh. In the case of, I think I know who you're talking about, he he did raise those I think it was lions, but it could be tigers, since they were cubs, and then put them in a sanctuary, or he has a sanctuary, I believe, goes back and sees them occasionally. And cats they remember everyone they've ever known. They have amazing sense of smell, so they can pick you out from, a crowd of people and know that that's someone that they've known before as opposed to a stranger. Oh. But he's just gotten incredibly lucky that when he, does interact directly with those cats, that they haven't, even just by mistake or by instinct, they're big cats are 12 times stronger than people. So one swipe of a paw and it could break his neck and kill him.
Right.
So when they reach around to hug, he's just been really, really lucky. We definitely do not recommend that people interact with these cats. We never even touch our cats, and we run a sanctuary. Mm-hmm. Not even our founder ever goes into the enclosures or touches any of the cats unless they've been sedated for a medical or dental procedure and they're headed to our hospital.
Right.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
It's interesting.
I
just want to say one thing. When I talked earlier about 99% of the cats stay with our sanctuary, where they're permanent home for the rest of their life, people might be wondering, well, what about the other tiny little percentage there? Which ones are returned to the wild?
Oh yeah.
And because we're in Florida, we're actually a licensed rehabber of native Florida wild bobcats, which we do have here in Florida. So a lot of times we do get calls, way too often actually, that a bobcat has been hit by a car and it's near this highway. Or
I've seen a couple.
Someone's found a couple orphaned kittens on the side of the road. Yes, because you live in Florida, you said. So we'll actually jump in our car, which we keep equipped with nets and dog carriers and all that kind of thing. And we'll drive anywhere in the state of Florida to recover and hopefully get that cat, bring it back to our facility, rehab it, which can be as simple as letting it grow up for a few months and become an adult bobcat. Yeah. Or it can mean major surgery to repair what's happened if it's been hit by a car, and then re-release it out into the wild back into Florida.
Wow.
Very cool. What were you trying to say, Adam?
Oh, I think it was in Secret Life of a Satanist where I read it, that when Anton LaVey went to the zoo to visit Togar after he had surrendered him, Togar marked him, sprayed him in the face.
That's very possible. In fact, big cats can spray 10 feet back. Yeah. So we always say, if a cat suddenly turns around and you see his butt, you want to go left or right. You just don't want to back up a couple steps because they'll still hit you. And I'm sure that Togar still remembered him and knew what he smelled like. So he definitely knew that was his former owner.
Wow. That's interesting. So do you have any stories as far as things that might have happened in the rescue that we could be in awe of or horrified by?
Every one of our cats has a story. It's just amazing.
What was the most crazy situation that you've had to you came upon with a big cat?
The one that jumps out to my mind, happened in Alabama, and it involves two different cats, actually. We heard about a woman who ran a quote-unquote sanctuary. A lot of places call themselves sanctuaries, but they're actually, exploiting or abusing or even, animal cruelty to cats.
Wow.
And she had a number of cats at a place called Animal House in Alabama. It's now since shut down, thankfully. But she is a very rural area of Alabama. And so not only did she have exotic cats, she was actually kind of the dog pound for the local county. And so when people found dogs and wanted to get them adopted out or strays or whatever, they brought them to her. And supposedly she was taking care of them and then adopting them out. But what she was actually doing was feeding them to her big cats.
No.
Jesus.
Yes.
Wow.
And she had a leopard that she decided to put in a Doberman that she had with this leopard. And of course the Doberman didn't just, roll over and let the leopard kill it. It fought back. And the Doberman did die, but the leopard was very badly wounded, and open wound on one of its paws. And we found out about this months and months later. The woman gave the cat no vet care. Nothing was done. We begged the Fish and Wildlife Service in Alabama, as well as U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, to let us take this cat to either seize it or have the owner give it to us. She refused, and about 2 years later, in agony, that leopard finally died. But it was left without vet care and an open wound by this woman for all those years.
Wow.
So there's got to be a lot of times where you come across people who you wish you could feed to those cats.
Well, at least we like to see them no longer own cats and have the cats taken away. What it was interesting about this Animal House was that wasn't the only cat that she was abusing. We finally were able to get her to allow us to rescue a different cat. It was a cougar. His name is Mickey. And when we rescued Mickey, he could barely walk. It turned out that both of his back legs, the ACLs, were torn, and he was walking bone on bone.
Oh, man.
And his legs were so bowed out. And we still have pictures of him on our website like that and videos. It's bigcatrescue.org, probably just /Mickey, Mickey. Generally, it's just / and the name of the cat.
USC.
Yeah, exactly. And, sweetest cat, but when we got him, we didn't know if we'd be able to, give him a good quality of life, or we'd have to put him down humanely. But he had such a will to live. He didn't act like he was in pain, that we said, we've got to give this poor cat a chance to live. And we did surgery on our vets on one of his back legs, and he did okay. And he recuperated, and we actually even gave him some physical therapy, then went back and did the other leg about 6 months later. And he's really doing well. He's never going to run or walk and, like a regular cougar should, but Mickey's doing really good now. So at least one of the cats escaped Animal House and is in a better place now.
All right. All right. I'm too sad. I need a happy story. I need something fluffy and cute. What do you got?
Fluffy and cute. We rescued some cats last October from a place in South Dakota that lost their USDA license, which is kind of sad. But a lot of times we don't know too much detail about the cats that we're getting. All we knew in that rescue was that we were getting 4 bobcats and 2 cougars. Oof. So when the cats arrived, in this case, they were driven to us. A lot of times we'll actually take our truck or use another truck to go pick up cats that we were rescuing. But in this case, we didn't know until they arrived, even if they were male, female, or the ages. And so when we started looking at they were in little dog carriers, because they're bobcats. 4 bobcats were, and then the cougars were in bigger cages. That one of the bobcats was only like 6 months old.
Oh.
He was just really tiny, and he was so cute. And we put him in, we have like 4x4 steel squared enclosures. And he was so little, after about an hour, we he's like going to slip right through here, This isn't even going to hold him. So we had to recatch him again and then move him into, one of the few cages that we have that has small, like 2x2. And it was just amazing how tiny he was. And his name is Nabisco. And so from Nabisco, he went to Biscuit, and so now we just call him the Biscuit. So he's a real cutie pie bobcat. If you again, I think if you just Google bigcatrescue.org/Nabisco, you'll see pictures of like
Nabisco.
Literally the most adorable little bobcat kitten you've ever seen.
Nice. I recently heard. Oddly enough, I think this was during one of Joe Rogan's stand-ups, but you kind of mentioned something this earlier to this effect that in Texas there are more tigers in people's backyards, like in cages and tied up, than there are in all of captivity.
You mean all in the are in the wild?
Oh yeah, that are in the wild. Yeah, sorry, yeah. That are captive than there are in the wild. Yeah. In
the wild, for example, with tigers, there's about 3,200 to 3,500 tigers left in the wild. Period.
Yeah.
There are, as I mentioned, of the 10 to 20,000 big cats people are keeping in backyards and generally in deplorable conditions. There's no way to know. As I said, no one keeps track, but most of those, or a good majority, are going to be tigers. For whatever reason, I guess they're beautiful stripes. They are the most popular cat to breed and to get pictures taken with and to own. And, of course, they're the largest cat. They're the top of the alpha predator list. They're bigger than lions in general. And there was probably that. But you're right. It's generally thought by people that know big cats in this country that there are more cats probably in Texas and in Florida than any other states, and in captivity, and definitely more than in the wild.
What's it going to take to put more of a stop to that, to get some control over that?
Well, like I said, we're working along with other groups like Shambhala to actually pass the Big Cat Public Safety Act, which is in the House of Representatives pending right now, HR 1818. And you can learn more by texting CATS, like I mentioned earlier, to 52886. And what we'd love is that everyone would ask their member of House of Representatives, everyone has one in the district that they live within the state they live, to support the Big Cat Public Safety Act and say, these are majestic creatures. They should be in the wild. They should be roaming hundreds of miles. They shouldn't be living in somebody's backyard in a steel cage in deplorable conditions with the concrete floor as somebody who doesn't know what they're doing and not feeding them correctly and no chance to exercise or even act like the big cat they should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I feel like I come across a lot of people who, even with regular cats and dogs and house pets, that they get this idea when it's small and it's little and cute that they want it, and then they don't realize the responsibility. And obviously, that responsibility grows so much more with big cats. I definitely would like to just, I guess, maybe a little bit of caution to people who want to emulate that, especially like those who try to too much to be like Anton LaVey and not understand that he had a little bit more understanding of what he was doing. Like, you have to take into consideration what it takes, and it's not that easy. You shouldn't just jump into something like that.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, think about it. We have actually a leopard that just died earlier this week. He lived to be 25 years old, which is twice as long as they live in captivity. But he ended up at Big Cat Rescue in 1995 when he was just 3 years old, because his owner wanted to go on vacation. And you can't go on vacation when you have a pet leopard and call your next door neighbor and say, hey, can you come over and feed my leopard while I'm gone for a while? And so the owner actually never came back. And I always said that Sabre got kind of like the kitty cat lottery to have been abandoned. If you're going to be abandoned, you want to be abandoned somewhere like Big Cat Rescue at accredited sanctuary where he lived the next 22 years in great health and enrichment.
Right. Wow. Excellent.
Awesome.
So I see a lot of ads on like Craigslist for these Savannah cats. They're gaining a lot of popularity. And there was one in my neighborhood that got loose, and there were signs all over the place that people were really panicked, like about the cat getting dogs and whatnot. Do you? From what I understand, a Savannah cat is a cross between an African serval and a house cat. Do you see that as an epidemic, or coming up as a problem?
I don't know if I call it an epidemic, but we definitely are not supportive of people that breed these cats. Well, I was just telling you the 3 most recent cats that we got from the state of Ohio, where they have strict laws now. It was 2 caracals, which is a similar size to an African serval. They weigh between 30 and 50 pounds. And then we also got 1 African serval named Zukari, and all 3 of them were used for, they were owned by a hybrid breeder, and she was using them for, breeding. And the serval Zukari was living, from what we were told by the Department of Agriculture in Ohio, in one room with a huge group of domestic cats. We were obviously hoping he would breed with some of them. And after we got them to our sanctuary in Florida and had them looked at by our vets, 2 of the 3 had a very contagious virus, which comes from being kept housed with too many cats. And so probably the rest of her cats had that as well. So it's not healthy for the cats. The Savannah cats can cost thousands of dollars. And again, the only reason people breed these cats is to make money.
Right.
Yeah.
They tell people, they make great pets. But what they'd forget is they still got a lot of wildcat in them, even if they're 3rd, 4th, 5th generation removed from African serval and domestic cat mating. The kittens are too big for a domestic cat. Think about it. They're not supposed to be mating with something that weighs 50 pounds. A lot of times, domestic cat mother will die in baby birth, kitten birth.
Yeah.
And, they continue to mark their territory. They stay up all night. They're nocturnal. Like that one person during your video you played or audio you played talked about how, that lion was nocturnal and he would howl all night and roar.
Yeah.
Savannah cat's going to do that. Bengal cat's going to do that. They, it's just inherently cruel to subject a cat to something that's unnatural just because people want to make money or have something that's a freak of nature, we think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Absolutely.
And just
Susan,
the cat rates too. There was a Savannah cat, a serval as a pet in Detroit a couple years ago that got loose. And there was a panic in Detroit in the media. They said, a leopard's loose. Because servals, if you've never seen one, they're small and golden. They have stripes and spots. They look very similar to a leopard if you had like a baby leopard. And there was such a panic that when the serval was spotted, someone shot it to death. They killed it.
Oh, man.
So, it's generally the cat that ends up paying the price for human greed.
Of course, yeah.
People are stupid.
Yeah. I would actually like to know, I guess, since, as we try to tell you, a lot of Satanists they have this connection with animals more than they do with people, with just their pets and just a love for wildlife and for nature as it is. So I was wondering if you could maybe describe to us or tell us what it is about the nature of cats that is so appealing to you that got you into this.
I've always loved cats. So I've always had domestic cats myself. I grew up, with cats. My parents had a cat when they brought me home from the hospital. So I've never kind of been without cats. And I just, they just something about it. And it's funny. I think a lot of times, you meet people, and it seems to be men too, and they're like, I don't like cats, but it's generally they've never had a cat. My husband had never had a cat until, we got together, and now he's the biggest cat lover you're going to see. And I know several people that are like that. Yeah. A lot of people say too, they're like, I'm allergic, Yeah. But my husband's mildly allergic. He actually went to a doctor a few years ago, and the doctor was like, well, why don't you guys just get rid of those cats if you have to take Benadryl all the time? And my husband's like, my wife would get rid of me before she could get rid of the cat.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it just, it worked out in my life to end up, working at a sanctuary for big cats. But I've just always loved cats. And I think, you guys are animal lovers, as you said, and seem to like cats too. So they're just very independent. They do their own thing, and that's cool.
I've got a cat. His name is Blix. He's a little nutbag. He's just crazy. He's the coolest cat. You could pet him. You could play with him. And but when he's got to go do his business, if you know what I mean, he just starts running. And he'll run across the couch, across your face, over the wall, back around the counter. And we know he has to go to the bathroom. Do you guys run into anything like that with cats, like as far as behavior?
Some of the cats at the sanctuary, they'll have predictable behaviors like that, but I don't think quite.
They've all got their own personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're a wildcat, just literally pee wherever you want. So,
My cat.
they don't have set litter boxes or anything they're running to.
For years we've had cats and things. I have dogs and everything too, but we always use litter boxes. And I'm not getting paid to advertise for this company, but I probably should. I might bleep it out. But sells a litter box that you put on the toilet to train the cat to go on the toilet, and it works. Yeah. My cat goes on the toilet. Adam's using it for his cat. It's amazing.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Working on it. My cat's a little bit rebellious, but
he's a rebel.
He is.
You can't tame this.
I was telling John it goes in steps. So the insert in the toilet, the hole gets bigger and bigger as the cat gets more used to using the toilet. I upgraded to the final step. My cat was doing so well. Upgraded to the final step, and he shit by the toilet. And now he's like, "No, I'm done."
Just go back. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll let you know when they're ready.
Yeah, exactly. He figured it out. He's like, "Nope."
They're pretty smart. They do what they want when they want.
Susan, I mean, what you're doing out there is amazing. Not only us Satanists, but people all across the globe are happy that you're doing it and thankful that you are doing it. BigCatRescue.org. Go there.
I assume you guys you take donations, right?
We do. We're a 501c3, so it's all tax-deductible donations, yes.
Yeah, donate. All of our satanic politicians out there, check out HR 1818. Am I correct on that, Susan?
Yep, you got it right. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Do that and get that thing passed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for coming on. We really had a pleasure.
Oh my gosh, it was great to talk to you guys. I really appreciated it.
Yeah, it truly was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, till next time, everyone. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.